Hey there, I'm Jana from Purl Together, and I'm back this week with a short tutorial video for block number 4 of the Berroco Mystery Blanket Knit Along. I really enjoyed this block. I found the pattern to be pretty intuitive and easy to memorize once you understand how things are going to crisscross and make diamonds like this, and the offsetting of that between the first 4 rows and the rows 5 through 8. I found the block pretty satisfying, really, and it was quick. I only took me a couple of evenings to knit it, and I really enjoyed it. So I love the texture of this, and I would really like to have maybe a beanie with this texture would be fun. Although socks too. I just really like it. So let's get started, and I'll show you just some little hints to help make block number 4 go well for you. As you can see, I haven't blocked mine yet because I just barely finished it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it blocked to dimension. Okay, as usual, we've started with the long tail cast on, and I have a long tail cast on calculator so you can know how long your tail needs to be before you start. And I'll put a link down below in the video description if you want a slower version of how to do the long tail cast on. As you can see here, I've already done my cast on and the 2 setup rows. So now I'm ready to begin the pattern stitch. And I've done row 1, which was on the wrong side. So now I'm ready to start row 2, which is everything else is so far is really pretty self-explanatory. And this is not difficult at all either. But I just thought I'd demonstrate. So you are going to knit 2 and then slip 1 with yarn in front. So we want to bring the yarn forward as if we're going to purl. We want to bring the yarn forward and then slip 3 stitches because we're slip 1, yarn forward 3 times. So you're going to slip 3 stitches. Now the only thing I really wanted to point out here is that your tension is important. You want to leave this pretty loose. Because what's going to happen in subsequent rows is that we're going to go in and lift this up to the next row. So we want to have it loose enough to do that without causing any kind of puckering. So again, bring your yarn forward, slip 1, 2, 3, leave that pretty loose, yarn to the back and knit 1. So you're going to do that all the way across until you get to the last stitch. Okay, so yours would look like that, all the way across. Okay, I finished the repeats all the way across, and I just have 1 stitch left to knit. So now you're just going to turn your work, knit 1 and purl across to the last stitch and then knit that. So that's pretty much what the wrong side is going to entail for this whole block, is just knitting 1 and purling back and then knitting the last stitch. So you're creating that little 1 stitch garter selvage edge. Now on row 4 we're going to knit 2, and then the asterisk is what we're going to repeat in between. So that's a knit 1, and then we're going to lift this strand. LST means lift strand. So let's take that back out and read our knitting, for example. These are the 3 stitches that we have right above the strand that we made by slipping those 3. And so if you get off track ever, you can look at that and see that there's 3. We want to knit the first one. We're going to lift the strand and work with the middle stitch, and then we're just going to knit the next one. So you'll see what I mean in just a moment. So we've knitted 2, and then we're at the asterisk, so we're going to knit the next one. We're going to lift that strand by using the right hand needle and going in underneath it from front to back, and lift that strand up onto the right needle. Then we're going to go ahead and knit the next stitch. That's simple. And then we're going to just lift the strand up over. I'll show you that a couple more times. So what that does, it kind of creates its own little scarf. The strands that we left in front creates a little collar or a little scarf around the stitch that we just knitted. So the knitted stitch needs to be in front of those strands. I'll show you that again. So after we've lifted that up on there, knitted the next one, then we're going to knit the stitch that's in between our strands, knit the next one so that we're at the middle stitch of those 3 that the strand is in front of. So take your right hand needle and go in underneath that, knit the center stitch, and then just lift that strand up over. Okay, So you'll see what that's going to do. And then we're going to knit 1, 2, 3, and just keep doing that all the way across. Go in underneath from front to back, knit the middle stitch, up and over. Okay, so you can see that that's going to make some diagonal lines. And then the next time we do this, we're going to offset the strand so that it ends up making the diamond shapes that you see in the photo. All right, if you look back now, you can see what row 4 produced, which were all those diagonal V shapes. I've knitted row 5, and now I'm ready to begin row 6. And you can see how what's going to happen now. If you compare row 4 and row 6, we started off row 4 by just knitting 2 and then starting our slip with the strand, but now we're going to knit 4. So that's going to offset our strands and create the diamond-shaped effect. So we're going to knit 4, bring the yarn to the front, slip 3, and being mindful of your tension here. Knit 1, bring the yarn to the back, slip 3, and carry on all the way across. Now you can see what's going to happen. You can tell that when we lift that, that's going to make the top of this diamond. So I'm going to carry on knitting these. The other thing I was going to tell you was if you're interested in these needles, these are made from Brick House Fiber Arts, and they are hexagonal needles with stainless steel tip, and I'm really enjoying that, especially with the cables that have no memory and they swivel. It's pretty slick. I'll put a link to these down below in the video description if you're interested as well. They are not inexpensive, but they are definitely well worth it, and also made by women in the USA. So that's my plug for Brick House Fiber Arts. Don't get me wrong, they do not sponsor this video. I just really like their products. All right, I'm really loving how this particular textured block look. I think it's my favorite of the 3 textured blocks we've done so far. Yeah, I might even want to try this kind of a texture on a hat or socks. I think it's lovely. So now we're just going to turn our work and do a couple of other stockinette rows to match our setup rows in the very beginning. So I'm just going to knit the first stitch here and purl across like we have been doing all along, and then knit a plain row. So that will match the first couple of rows we did after the cast on. So then we're going to bind off purlwise. All right, binding off purlwise is just the same as your normal standard bind off, except that you're doing purls instead of knits. So you just purl the first 2 as you normally would, and then lift that second stitch over the first. Now I provide just some tension here to make it easier to lift that over, but it works exactly the same. Okay, I hope you found those tips to be helpful. I'll be back in a few days with also hopefully some helpful tips for our next block, which is Intarsia. Also, you can watch Alison Green's videos. I'll link to those down below in the video description. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching.